Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers.
Right now on Morning News Now, emotional testimony. The January 6th committee hearings take a new turn as lawmakers hear how the pressure campaign from former President Trump impacted everyday people. A poll worker describes how she became the subject of a conspiracy theory that she says ruined her life.
There is nowhere I feel safe. Nowhere. Do you know how it feels to have the President of the United States to target you? But he targeted me.
How state officials say Trump pressured them to change election results, plus what the committee hopes to uncover in the next hearing. Abject failure. A top Texas official blasts the police response to the Uvalde school shooting. From unlocked doors to police radios that weren't working. New information this morning about a string of security failures and new questions about what went wrong. Growing concerns this morning about the two captured Americans in Ukraine after the State Department confirms another American has died in the country. What we're learning about the man killed, plus how the U.S. responds to Russia's refusal to rule out the death penalty for the two that they are holding. And out of reach, the dream of owning a home is becoming nearly impossible for millennials. The factors keeping a generation of young Americans from reaching home ownership right now. A lot of stories about homes right now and mortgages and a lot of questions that people have.
Everything being way too expensive.
Exactly. We're going to delve into that in a little bit. We're going to begin, though, this hour with that fourth public hearing held by the January 6th House Committee.
State leaders and election workers described the unrelenting pressure campaign by then-President Trump to overturn the 2020 election. NBC News senior congressional correspondent Garrett Haake joins us now from Capitol Hill. Garrett, several of the people we heard from got even choked up describing what they say they've been subjected to since. Is that right?
That's right, Savannah. It was surprisingly emotional testimony yesterday as the committee laid out what they see as a scheme that long predates the attack on the Capitol itself on January 6th, a pressure campaign against local officials in key states to either find Trump votes or send fake pro-Trump electors here to Washington from states Joe Biden won. The January 6th committee detailing a relentless pressure campaign by former President Trump and his allies before the Capitol attack, aimed at overturning Mr. Trump's election loss.
The president's lie was and is a dangerous cancer on the body politic.
Arizona's pro-Trump House Speaker Rusty Bowers testified about calls from Mr. Trump and his allies pushing him to overturn Joe Biden's victory in the state, as Bowers repeatedly asked Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani for evidence of widespread fraud that Giuliani could not produce.
My recollection, he said, we've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence.
And in an emotional moment, insisting he would not violate his oath of office to support the former president's claims.
For me to do that because somebody just asked me to is foreign to my very being. I will not do it.
Bowers is denying a new statement from Mr. Trump, alleging Bowers told him the election had been rigged. Georgia's Republican Secretary of State and his deputy on the receiving end of this recorded phone call from the former president long after the state was called for Mr. Biden.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Those Georgia officials fact-checking the former president's claim about the election and explaining why he lost their state.
What happened in fall of 2020 is that 28,000 Georgians skipped the presidential race, and yet they voted down ballot in other races. And the Republican congressman ended up getting 33,000 more votes than President Trump, and that's why President Trump came up short.
And a former Georgia election worker and her mother caught up in a bogus conspiracy theory about illegal votes, attacked by Mr. Trump on the same call.
It's affecting my life in a major way, in every way, all because of lies.
Do you know how it feels to have the President of the United States to target you?
Up next, Thursday's hearing, the committee says they will focus on the Department of Justice and what they believe was a Trump campaign, a Trump administration effort to use the DOJ to try to come up with those votes they couldn't find anywhere else.
All right, Garrett Haake, thank you so much. Now, as we heard in yesterday's hearing, state election officials described what it's been like to deal with the pressure campaign from Trump and his allies. So what could it mean for these workers in future elections? Let's bring in NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray for more. Mark, good morning. So, I mean, as we just heard from Garrett there, I mean, it's really took this emotional, mental toll on these people. In some cases, it even resulted in people's, according to them, homes being broken into, people showing up outside. Do you think we could see a shift in how elections are run at the state level and how election workers interact with the public after everything that happened following the 2020 election?
One of the big fears of after the 2020 election, and certainly with the pressure campaign, was that state election officials, all the way from elected secretaries of state like Brad Raffensperger to rank and file people who are just administering the vote, like we ended up hearing yesterday, could end up deciding not to do it, or you end up losing people who want to be public servants. And, one of the ironies of the 2020 election was that despite the COVID pandemic, it was run in a really well way. People ended up doing the right things. There wasn't widespread fraud. People ended up doing their jobs. And to see them penalized and also end up hearing their voices has been very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mark, let's now talk about some primary elections that we just had last night. So there were several races, actually, that featured candidates who were endorsed by former President Trump, including Alabama Senate candidate Katie Britt. That's what you're seeing on your screen right here, beating out Representative Mo Brooks in that state's race. What more can you tell us about the implications from this result?
Yeah, well, in Alabama, the former President Trump's endorsement was kind of all over the place. First, he endorsed Mo Brooks in this contest. Then he rescinded it. And then he ended up endorsing Katie Britt in just the last couple of weeks of that runoff election. And it was a decisive victory for Katie Britt. The winds had been blowing in her direction for this contest. She'd been out advertising Brooks, so she didn't end up getting a whole lot of endorsements. And it's notable that she's the former chief of staff to Richard Shelby, and he's the senator who's retiring and who opened up this seat.
Now, I want to ask you about Georgia, a state, of course, that we heard a lot about yesterday in this Capitol Hill hearing. It was the focus for so much of Trump's pressure campaign. It saw mixed results, actually, for candidates backed by Trump and other establishment figures in the GOP. What can you tell us about those races?
Some of Donald Trump's biggest defeat in all the races where we're looking for the power of his endorsement have come in the state of Georgia. And so in Georgia's 10th congressional district, Mike Collins defeated Trump-backed Vernon Jones decisively last night. And then also we ended up seeing in Georgia's 6th congressional district, you ended up having Rich McCormick's defeating Jake Evans. In Georgia particularly, and when you look at last month's gubernatorial Republican primary, Donald Trump has received some really big defeats in Georgia, even though many of his endorsed candidates have won elsewhere.
All right, Mark Murray, thank you so much.
New outrage this morning over the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. A top Texas law enforcement official testified before members of the state Senate yesterday following weeks of silence. The head of DPS presented new evidence suggesting officers were well equipped to take down the gunman in just a matter of minutes. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us now from Austin, Texas, where hearings continue today. Sam, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Part of this latest timeline offered in minute-by-minute detail. 1 hour, Joe, 14 minutes and 8 seconds. That is how long this massacre went on for. But in the words of the Texas DPS director, it could have been over in 3 minutes as officers stood in the hallways with rifles. Over my shoulder, you see the state capitol. Texas senators here are going to be talking about mental health services and firearm safety today, Joe. But right now, testimony from Tuesday is reverberating throughout the Capitol.
Using posters, timelines, and maps.
Hey, you stop the killing, you stop the dying.
The head of the Texas Department of Public Safety called the police response in Uvalde an abject failure.
The only thing stopping a hallway of dedicated officers from entering room 111 and 112 was the on-scene commander, who decided to place the lives of officers before the lives of children.
The man Director McCraw is singling out. Pete Arredondo, the school district police chief, previously told the Texas Tribune he never considered himself the incident commander. On Tuesday, he declined to answer questions, climbing into an elevator.
McCraw said that you were wrong in the moment.
After 5 hours of closed-door testimony before the Texas House. But during an open Senate session, fresh evidence from inside Robb Elementary's hallways. cultivated from surveillance footage, like these images obtained by the Texas Tribune and Austin Statesman, body camera video and audio recordings, appears to contradict concerns about lack of firepower, armor, or locked doors. According to the testimony, at 11:33, the gunman begins shooting into the classrooms. By 11:35, 3 Uvalde police officers enter with 2 rifles, followed by Arredondo and 3 other officers. The chief calling for backup 5 minutes later. I need some more firepower in here because we all have pistols and this guy's got a rifle. At 11:52, the first ballistic shield arrives with 2 more about 11 minutes later.
It could have been used immediately.
Investigators also determined none of the police radios worked inside the school hallways, only those belonging to Border Patrol. And the classroom doors were unlocked per state investigators, even as Arredondo spent roughly 40 minutes trying to locate a master key.
So the teacher could not even lock the classroom door from the inside?
That's correct. There's no way to lock the door from the inside.
Parents demanding answers about the police response.
Vests, helmets, anything you could think of, they had it.
Local leaders pointing out there were more than a half dozen agencies responding, not just Uvalde police.
Like it's the perfect storm of what not to do happened in Uvalde, Texas.
And when asked why the doors could only be locked from the outside, the DPS director said, "I cannot explain it to lawmakers. It makes no sense, but it did prevent the school from executing an actual lockdown." And we also know that a teacher in one of those classrooms had reported the lock wasn't working. It had been inspected. It wasn't the lock itself, but the strike plate that didn't work, which means even if it had been locked technically, the door, Joe, would not have been secure. Back to you.
All right, Sam Brock, thank you so much. For more on this now, we are joined by Seth Chan. He is the editor-in-chief of the Texas Tribune, which has done a lot of investigating into this story. Seth, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Your paper, the Texas Tribune, reviewed a timeline of events that was compiled by law enforcement. That included the surveillance footage that Sam just mentioned, transcripts of radio traffic, phone calls from the day of the shooting. What is it that you did find? What are your biggest takeaways from this?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. The reporter just laid out a lot of them, right? The timeline, the video cameras, footage, the body cam imagery, and other documents we've reviewed basically suggest that from really minutes after, the gunman arrived, you saw the arrival of law enforcement, weaponry, protective equipment, including those ballistic shields, even firefighting equipment, such as the Halligan, a tool that would have allowed firefighters and others to just force their way through the doors. So you really have this accumulation of men, materiel, and of course, motivation. What you did not have was a clear order and command to breach. And that is, of course, the delay that everyone is focusing on right now.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. I mean, we know several law enforcement agencies were on the scene. The school district police chief, Pete Arredondo, said he did not consider himself the officer in charge at the scene. But it seems like other officers did think he was the one in charge. What more can you tell us about that disconnect there?
Yeah, I think that's one of 2 primary disconnects. The first one is just that, right? That you have the head of a not only small town, but a small town school district police chief. This is normally a school police unit of 6 people. And so suddenly he's leading, or supposed to be leading, a group of law enforcement personnel who ultimately number 60 to 80 people from more than a half dozen agencies. And so, if he wasn't the commander, who was? And we've talked to a lot of police experts about how the incident commander, should be the person best and equipped to kind of coordinate, right, across the different agencies. And of course, as you know, police and military are taught to obey orders and obey chain of command. And so no one was going to either, I don't want to say mutiny, but no one was going to defy the lawful orders and suddenly, kind of go solo. The second major discrepancy, Joe, is that Chief Arredondo had told us that officers had tried the 2 doors of those classrooms and then finding them locked, had to wait an excruciatingly long time for a master key to arrive to allow them to get in. Now state officials say that they strongly don't believe that the doors were ever locked.
It's unreal. As Sam just laid out, too, this whole shooting lasted 1 hour, 14 minutes, 8 seconds, to be exact. During that time, officers, we know, were standing by outside the classrooms. We've seen some of the video that you got. Do we know what any of those officers were thinking, what was going through their minds during that excruciating wait?
It's very clear from the new footage that they were experiencing unimaginable agony and frustration. You had one police officer whose daughter was literally dying inside. You had another officer whose wife, a teacher, had called him from inside the classroom saying, "I'm bleeding to death." And that, of course, is the teacher who subsequently died en route to the hospital. So, and the officer whose daughter died, it turns out, had to be kind of disarmed and escorted out because, of course, his grief and his anger and his desire to go in and act, were so, of course, profoundly and understandably acute.
Hard to imagine what was going through his mind. So many journalists, including your newspaper, have been relentlessly staying on this. What comes next in the investigation, and what are you looking to learn next?
Well, there's certainly a lot more hearings. One thing that's very intriguing is the city-state tension now. Uvalde's mayor yesterday said at a very emotional city council hearing, he said that Texas DPS is trying to scapegoat local authorities, selectively leaked information to the media, is basically trying to throw the city under the bus and isn't telling them anything. And he said that he feels it's very, very unfair. And we had not heard that explicitly from the city before. So there's clearly a dynamic right now where Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Rangers here in Austin is really emphasizing local failures of police command and control. And you've got the local authorities saying, hold on, there may be more to this story.
And I just want to ask you, so much of what we're learning in this shooting, it's one of the most scrutinized, I think, responses we've seen to a mass shooting since Columbine, is coming through journalism, coming through papers like yours. Talk about the importance of that in all the information we're learning about this response.
I'm very proud of the exclusive information and stories that have been published in the Texas Tribune, other Texas newspapers, public media, and of course, national outlets. What I am dismayed by is that Texas has not been very forthcoming with public records. Uvalde has not allowed a lot of local reporters into public meetings. The San Antonio Express News has reported that reporters in Uvalde and elsewhere have been kind of harassed or by cops and by biker gangs, actually, saying, don't bother this community. So there's this spirit of like, there really isn't a lot of openness and transparency. And to be honest, we're hearing from Uvalde residents, they're thanking us because they're not getting answers. And so what they're finding out is through the media.
Reminder of the importance of local journalism. Seth Chan, thank you so much for everything you're doing and for joining us this morning. We really do appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Now to the heat wave that's gripping several parts of the country. Officially, it's only the second day of summer, believe it or not, but Americans are already trying to find ways to keep cool in this record-breaking heat.
Yeah, now those triple-digit temperatures, look at that, are expected to hit cities in the east and south, and the extreme conditions are creating serious health concerns.
NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander joins us from Atlanta with more on this. So, Blaine, what are you bracing for today, and which cities are expected to see the highest temperatures?
You know what, Joe, I think to answer your question, look no further than where I'm standing right now, Atlanta, Georgia. We're expected to hit 100 degrees today. And you may think, oh, my goodness, that's very hot. But isn't it always hot in Atlanta? Yes, it is, but we're talking about a new potential record if we hit 100 today. So that's why I'm standing here in Centennial Olympic Park. This fountain behind me here in downtown Atlanta is going to get a lot of play as people here in the city try and stay cool. But it's not just here. We're talking about New Orleans. We're talking about places in Texas, different places that are going to be hitting very close to 100 degrees. In fact, if you consider this, we're talking about nearly 2/3 of the country that over the next week or so, or at least 2/3 of the population that's going to see temperatures at 90 degrees or above. And if you want to take that even further, we're talking about 20% of the population that'll see temperatures close to 100. So we're talking about this heat dome that really is going to be impacting so many people in the coming week or so.
And Blaine, of course, a lot of people indoors trying to put their fans on, keep air conditioners on. That's a stress, of course, to power grids during these heat waves. What are some ways people can conserve energy to prevent power outages? And what do we know about how energy companies have been able to keep up?
Well, a couple of things that people can do. You know, these are some tips that people should just kind of always remember. One, keep your blinds closed. Keep your blinds, keep your drapes closed, so that way you can kind of keep some of the heat from permeating into your house. The other thing is make sure that you change your air filters. Not something that people would necessarily think of, but if you change your air filters, that's also a way to kind of help conserve energy. A couple of other things, it may be very tempting to keep that AC as down as low as it can, but they say that you should keep it to your highest comfortable setting to try and keep that coolness in the house without without taxing the power system.
And Blaine, sadly, we know as temperatures rise, heat-related illnesses in kids and hot car deaths become a super serious threat. What are some of the tips we just have to remember to keep in mind to prevent tragedies like that from happening?
So it's always so difficult to talk about because it seems that every year when we get into summer, we unfortunately see these unthinkable tragedies of parents forgetting or being distracted or not realizing that their child is in the car. But, you know, experts always say that temperatures can climb so hot to be deadly within just minutes. So they say a couple of things. One, always make sure to check your back seat. Two, do a roll call when you get inside, you know, and also do a verbal check. Just kind of make sure that you have everybody in your party. Unfortunately, we saw recently a hot car death in Texas this week, and officials there say that the parents were planning a birthday party for a sibling, and they simply forgot that their 5-year-old son was in the car. They didn't realize. So those are the things to prevent when it comes to hot deaths. The other things, though, we're talking about heat exhaustion, just when you have your children outside at the playground too long, for example. And this goes for adults, too. If you're starting to feel fatigued or just kind of tired or lethargic, if you're getting headaches, if you're sweating profusely, you could be suffering from heat exhaustion. The best bet is to get inside and try and cool off, guys.
All good advice. Blaine Alexander, thank you so much.
Thanks, Blaine. And let's stay on this and get a check on your morning news now. Weather?
Michelle Grossman is back with us. Hey, Michelle.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, all good tips because we're looking at the first full day of summer. So we have a long way to go with these really hot temperatures. And we're going to see the really hot temperatures today. Also tomorrow, 90s, 100s. It's going to feel like 115 in some spots once you factor in the humidity. So that's really the caveat as we go throughout the next couple of days. This is what it looks like today. We do have the chance for severe weather from the Ohio Valley, parts of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic. Record heat, especially in the South. The state of Florida could break a record. Most likely tomorrow could happen, if it is going to happen, a 90-plus-year-old record. Cooler, I put that in quotes, should be in quotes, because we're looking at more comfortable conditions behind this cold front. And then we're looking at monsoon moisture. So the 6th day of that moisture just streaming into the southwest. It's good news, but we're looking at the chance for flash flooding because it's coming quickly. In the end, it's going to be a good thing. Now, as we go throughout the rest of today, we're looking at 80s, 90s, 100s. Blaine touched upon this in her story. But most of the country in really warm weather. There's only a few spots. One in the Northeast, New England, also parts of the Northwest where we're looking at cooler conditions. Everywhere else, we're really above average in many, many spots. So today, 155 million highs today above 90 degrees. That's a lot. And then as we go throughout the hundreds, we're looking at 17 million. Where you see the purple mainly in the southwest, parts of the south central states, and also the southeast. Again, you factor in that humidity, it feels a lot warmer than that. So record highs expected throughout this weekend. Where you see these green dots, that's where we're expecting the potential to break some records. We have broken records over the past 3 weeks. We're going to continue to do that as we head towards the weekend. So talking about those severe weather today, we have the fuel, which is the heat, the humidity in spots, especially in the mid-Atlantic down to the southeast. We have a cold front. That's going to be the trigger to spark some storms, and we could see some pretty gusty thunderstorms, the potential for some flash flooding as well. So the biggest threats being winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, damaging winds, also some hail, and the chance of a tornado too, especially where you saw the yellow from Baltimore to D.C., parts of Pennsylvania into the interior parts of New York. A flood risk, and that's due to training storms. That means storms are just kind of going to rebuild over the same areas. So we're looking anywhere from New York through Pennsylvania down through parts of the mid-Atlantic, where we could see up to 2-3 inches of rain in those really heavy downpours, the thunderstorms, as we had throughout the afternoon and evening hours. Also looking at a lot of rain in the southwest. Once again, we have that monsoon moisture again the 6th day, where we're looking at rain pretty much in the same spots. New Mexico, you've been hit hard, and we're going to add to that today with thunderstorms. And then as we look towards the weekend, it's never too early. We're going to remain stormy in the southwest. And I just wanted to show you this too, remaining hot and dry in the southeast, and that's going to continue through Saturday and Sunday as well. Back to you guys.
Right. Thank you, Michelle.
Jinx.
Again. Coming up, we're following the latest from Ukraine.
Yeah, the State Department has now confirmed 2 Americans have died fighting there. Coming up, the new information we're learning about them and the latest on the 2 Americans being held by Russians. That's next.
There's growing concern today over the fate of 2 U.S. citizens who were captured by Russian forces while fighting in Ukraine.
Meanwhile, yesterday, the State Department confirmed that 52-year-old Steven Zabilski became the 2nd American to be killed in the country. NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter has the latest.
This morning, American authorities say they don't know exactly where Americans Alex Druki and Andy Wynn are being held.
We have not been provided either by Russian authorities or by Russian proxy forces or any other entity with additional details of the whereabouts of these Americans.
The two Americans were captured 2 weeks ago near the eastern city of Kharkiv, according to their families. The State Department now says they're in touch with Russian authorities, also responding to the Kremlin's suggestion that the men would not be treated as prisoners of war.
We expect, and in fact, international law and the law of war expects and requires that all those who have been captured on the battlefield be treated humanely and with respect and consistent with the laws of war.
The State Department also confirming the death of an American citizen in Ukraine, but not offering any details. According to a local newspaper obituary, 52-year-old Steven Zabielski was fighting in Ukraine when he died in May. NBC News cannot confirm what he was doing in the country. The White House also expressing outrage at Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov's refusal to rule out the death penalty as a possible sentence for the Americans, when speaking exclusively to NBC's Keir Simmons.
It's appalling that a public official in Russia would even suggest the death penalty for two American citizens.
Officials also addressing Brittany Griner, the WNBA star detained in Russia, who tried to call her wife more than a dozen times over the weekend, but the U.S. Embassy in Moscow failed to connect the call.
It was a logistical issue that was compounded in part by the fact that our embassy in Moscow is under significant restrictions in terms of its staffing.
Molly Hunter, NBC News, Dnipro, Ukraine.
Now I've got some other breaking news overseas. A powerful earthquake hit Afghanistan today, killing at least 1,000 people.
NBC's Raf Sanchez joins us now from Tel Aviv with this and other world headlines. Hey, Raf, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Savannah. That's right. The death toll at 1,000 now, but it may rise higher still. Another 500 or so people injured, according to the Afghan government. And this is going to be a major strain on the country's already collapsed healthcare system. This is the deadliest earthquake in the region since 2002 and a big test for Afghanistan's new Taliban government. China sent at least 29 warplanes into Taiwan's air defense zone yesterday. That's according to the island's defense ministry. It's the latest in months of aerial provocations by Chinese jets. President Biden has said the U.S. would come to Taiwan's aid if China mounted an invasion. And finally, return of the Queen, Serena Williams making a triumphant comeback to tennis for the first time in a year, winning a doubles match in England. It's the first competitive appearance for the 23-time Grand Slam winner since being forced to pull out of Wimbledon with a leg injury. And guys, she looked a little rusty at first, but she really picked up steam as that match went on.
Good to see.
Wow, Raph, great. Calling Serena rusty, huh? Shots fired.
But she picked up steam. She picked up steam.
All right, Raph, thank you so much. Now, here in the U.S., kids as young as 6 months old are now getting the COVID vaccine.
Coming up, we're going to tell you how this round of the vaccine rollout will work and what doctors want parents to know about it to protect your kids. Next. Children under the age of 5 are now able to get the first dose of the Moderna or Pfizer COVID vaccine after getting final approvals from the FDA and CDC. The White House says it planned to start shipping up to 10 million doses around the country. NBC News correspondent Rahima Ellis joins us now from a vaccination site in Times Square here in New York with more on this. Rahima, good morning to you. So walk us through what you're expecting to see at this clinic today. Give us a rundown of the new guidelines for vaccinating kids who are under the age of 5.
Good morning, Joe. This clinic behind me across the street is one of the city-sponsored hubs that's popped up here, and they're going to have these at various locations throughout the 5 boroughs of New York. And I want to even encourage parents of little children, so it might be hard to do, but you might want to get a pencil and a piece of paper to write some of this down about the information that may be most important to your children, because there are 2 vaccines that are available for children now. One is the Pfizer, the other is Moderna. We want to put up a full screen so that parents can see this. If you're going to get the Pfizer vaccine for your children, that's available for kids 6 months to 4 years old, and that's 3 doses First 2 doses given 21 days apart, and then the third dose given after 8 weeks. The other vaccine that's available is the Moderna. That is for children 6 months to 5 years old, and there are 2 doses of that, which would be given 4 weeks apart. A lot of information there all at once, but the big thing that people need to know is to contact your doctor about what's the best vaccine for your children. And speaking of talking with doctors, a lot of parents are getting misinformation, as what I'm hearing from doctors, about what they should and shouldn't do based on what they think is the efficacy of this vaccine. Some parents are hesitant, thinking that there could be some long-term impact if they give this vaccine to their children who are as young as 6 months old. Well, I spoke with a pediatric epidemiologist with NYU Langone about this. Here's what Dr. Jennifer Leitner had to say. Take a listen.
I think it's a concern of parents that they say we don't have any long-term data to know if the vaccine is safe. Well, you know, we do know that there really is no vaccine that causes long-term downstream side effects. If a side effect is going to happen, it will happen within the first couple days, rarely maybe within a week or so.
A lot of people that I've spoken to since mentioning this information from Dr. Leitner said they didn't even know that. So again, Joe, it's really important, doctors are saying, talk to your baby's physician about what might be best for them. Joe?
Rahima, speaking of doctors, I mean, we know they've had to treat children with COVID over the last couple years. Tell us about some of the experiences of dealing with that.
Well, it's been difficult for doctors, particularly for young children. As you know, those older than 5 years have been able to get the vaccine now for some time, and there's been hesitancy on that part as well. People are also thinking that, well, if you've had COVID, you won't get it again. But here's another soundbite from the doctor about why it's so important to allow your child to be vaccinated, because it can protect them from having to be hospitalized. Take a listen.
It's very frustrating as a pediatric infectious disease doctor to treat children in the hospital with COVID, because all the children we treated were actually not vaccinated. And to know that it could have been prevented, that hospitalization and the suffering of that child or that parents during that hospitalization is in some ways frustrating.
And again, I know I've said it before, Joe, but I'm going to say it again because it was repeated to me several times. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And the best thing that parents can do is talk to their doctor. Make an appointment to get their child vaccinated. But first and foremost, talk to your child's physician about doing it. Joe?
Can't say that enough. Alice, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Now let's bring in NBC News medical contributor Dr. Uche Blackstock. Dr. Blackstock, always great to have you with us. So parents continue, of course, to have questions about the COVID vaccine, especially for kids under 5, particularly which one to choose. So if you could tell us, how well do Pfizer's and Moderna's vaccines work, and how soon will children reach peak protection, that's hard to say, with each vaccine?
Good morning, Savannah. So, I definitely understand the parents' concerns about these 2 vaccines and determining which ones are efficacious. Parents should know that both Moderna and Pfizer vaccines have been shown to produce the same amount of antibodies in children as an adult. So that's one of the endpoints of the trial. The other endpoint is looking at symptomatic infection. Moderna's efficacy was about 37% compared to Pfizer, which is about 80%. However, the Pfizer sample size was quite small, so it's really hard to make sure that 80% is accurate. So I would say in terms of the endpoint of antibody, both vaccines are efficacious. For Moderna, it takes longer, obviously, to reach, Pfizer, it takes longer to reach that efficacy because redoses are involved, and people won't have immunity until about 3 months after the first dose, whereas Moderna is apart 4 weeks. So that's a shorter amount of time.
And doctor, just to clarify for parents who just heard this and they are concerned about their kids, when you mention a small sample size, what exactly does that mean? And for somebody who's wondering, well, does that mean that we don't have a lot of answers to questions for kids? What do you mean by that?
Right. That just means that the number of children that were studied was too small to make an accurate conclusion about the efficacy. So you need a certain size based on the population to determine efficacy. This sample size was too small, but it's important to know that both vaccines produce antibody levels comparable to that in adults.
And doctor, I do want to also ask you about long COVID. So there's still a lot of confusion and worry around it, where people experience symptoms for months after a COVID infection seems to have resolved. You know, you're not having that coughing, that type of stuff, but some of these kind of lingering effects are still there. What's the latest thinking on how common long COVID is and whether vaccines do protect against that?
Right. And so we're thinking that in terms of looking at studies so far, that about a third of people who get COVID will go on to have long COVID symptoms. Those are symptoms that last for weeks to months after the initial infection. Unfortunately, it looks like vaccines are not as protective against long COVID as we had hoped. Looks like maybe it decreases the risk by about 15%, which is why using other mitigation strategies in addition to vaccines is important.
All right, Dr. Blackstock, thank you so much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Coming up, a civil jury finds comedian Bill Cosby sexually assaulted a teenager in the 70s.
What happened during the trial and how it impacts Cosby now.
Plus, priced out, it is a tough housing market right now, but millennials are running into the most trouble trying to buy a home. The issues preventing this generation from reaching home ownership next. A California civil jury has found that Bill Cosby sexually assaulted a teen in 1975 at the Playboy Mansion when she was 16 years old. He's now been ordered to pay the woman, Judy Huff, $500,000 in damages.
Cosby was released from prison last year after a 2018 conviction stemming from another case was overturned. Speaking to reporters yesterday, Huff described her emotions at the court's verdict.
It's been torture. It has, just to be ripped apart, you know, thrown under the bus, backed over. And this to me is such a big victory. It really is. To all victims. I mean it.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas joins us now for more on this. Hey, Danny, thanks for being with us. So walk us through this civil trial and tell us what the main findings of the jury were here.
In this case, the jury did not award punitive damages, which are meant to punish a defendant. Instead, they awarded compensatory damages of $500,000. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but when you consider the amount of time that a plaintiff's firm puts into this, I have no doubt this would be a pretty good payday for your run-of-the-mill ham and egg plaintiff's attorney shop. But for Gloria Allred's firm, this was not one of their major verdicts of the year, I have no doubt. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Yes, the plaintiff won, but they didn't win all that much.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. I mean, Cosby's spokesperson says the actor plans to appeal this decision. He also spoke after the verdict. Let's hear what he said.
What happened today wasn't a victory. They didn't get the punitive damages. The victory was ours because we got to disclose and show what this woman was all about.
So he's described this as a victory for Cosby because the payout was less than the $8 million that was sought by Huff's attorney. Do you know exactly why the payout was that low?
No, because juries, in a case like this, the juries don't have what we call boardable damages. This is not like a car crash where you can say, okay, here's a torn rotator cuff. This is how much it's going to cost to repair that and a lifetime of therapy. With cases like this, and the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case is a similar example. You don't really have tangible things to show a jury. They're literally plucking numbers out of the air. So whatever it is the jury decided in that room, they decided that they believed Judith Huff for some reason and that they would only award $500,000 in damages. Now, again, that may be a jury that thought, hey, $500,000 is a lot of money. Or maybe they were sending a message that, look, we believe you, but this is many years ago. We may have seen some inconsistencies. These are the damages we're awarding as a result. It's really hard to say unless some of the jurors come forward and say something.
All right, Danny Savalas, as always, we appreciate your expertise. Thanks for being with us.
Millennials have been hit especially hard by the pandemic, fueled crunch on the housing market, and obviously inflation and unrelenting competition push costs even higher.
Yeah, they're the largest generation of adults in U.S. history, now in their prime home buying years. But many say the burden of student debt is preventing them from doing just that, from becoming first-time home buyers. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton is with us on set. It's great to see you. Tell us about this.
Nice to see you guys. Look, it is hard for anyone to get into a home right now, but if you're a millennial and you're carrying student debt,
it is additionally challenging. If you're a young professional who has debt, even if you have saved up for a good down payment, you have a good credit score and a good income, if you're carrying debt, many lenders just won't work with you right now. And many people are worried it means that an entire generation is going to get shut out of the American dream. Take a look.
For 2 years, Asia Ingram has been trying to find a place in Chicago to call home. When she's not in the lab as an engineer and scientist, she's on the hunt.
Because you like historic homes, and this one right here has a lot to offer.
But her dream keeps getting deferred, thanks to almost $220,000 in student loan debt, racked up in undergraduate, master's, and PhD programs. And lenders keep rejecting her.
When you look at your debt, how does it make you feel?
I almost feel like I'm getting emotional because, especially when you grew up in Black communities, education is the only way. You know, it just feels like almost like a joke.
A Legal and General study found 36% of millennials say student debt keeps them from becoming homeowners. For young professionals of color, it's even harder. After decades of discrimination in jobs and housing, many have tried to close the wealth gap through achievement in higher education.
How am I going to build this family or this ideal if I'm going to be renting for the rest of my life? $2,000 and $3,000, $4,000 coming out of my bank account each month into something that I don't own.
Asia's realtor Nicole Wheatley specializes in finding young professionals homes. She frequently writes to the Biden administration demanding they follow through on the campaign promise to cancel at least $10,000 in loans per borrower.
Financial institutions need to change, but also policy needs to change too. How do regulations that are in place?
What does the president owe young professionals right now?
He absolutely owes young professionals by standing by his word.
To lenders, it didn't matter that Nayela Malone had great credit, owned a therapy business, and was on a debt repayment plan. After months of trying with 2 different lenders in 2020, she had to take a break.
What are the explanations that you've been given?
Oh, the only one is the student loan debt.
Today, she pays $800 more in rent than the cost of the mortgage on the home she wanted.
It just got very dark for me because I could not understand it. And I didn't want to hear any more explanations. I felt defeated. I felt invisible.
Could you have settled for a smaller home in a cheaper neighborhood?
No. Why should I? You know, no. I work hard. I own my own business. I have more degrees than a thermometer, you know, and I deserve to be safe.
Mortgage lender Linda McCoy says it's on the federal government to adjust the rules.
Do lenders need to change their practices?
Somebody's got to do it from the top. We can't do it from, the lender. It's not our debt. We can't just cancel it, but they can.
But in cities struggling with violence and policing like Chicago, a rejection from a lender can change a family's future. Camila Rashad bought her family their first home on the South Shore. It wasn't her first choice, but her $560,000 in student loans kept her out of many neighborhoods.
And I hear gunshots like right outside my gate. My car was parked outside, so there's now 2 bullet holes in my car.
2 15-year-olds were shot. Camila tries not to think about what might have happened if her kids had been home. But as Asia continues to search and Nayela tries to heal, she refuses to give up.
After everything that I've been through, it's going to take a whole lot more than 2 bullet holes in my car to get me up out of this house. When you find not just a house, but a place that becomes your home, and it's about your legacy, it's about your family, you will work as hard. I will work as hard as I can to protect it.
Yeah, wow, what a statement right there, right? Protecting it.
Absolutely. Look, if you're a young person who has student debt and really wants to get into a home, it's difficult, but it's not entirely impossible. So what I'd recommend is finding a realtor who really specializes in working with young professionals and really understands student debt. If you can get professional help and you can have the patience to know that the process could take months or maybe even a couple of years, you can make it happen. But it is hard out there.
Good advice, but boy, a couple of years, that's something. That says a lot, too.
So hard to get out from under that debt. Yeah, and so many people waiting on what's going to happen this summer from the president. All right, Antonia, thank you so much. Amazing report, as always. Now let's get to some more financial news. Uber and Lyft are being hit with a new lawsuit.
NBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and more business headlines. Silvana, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, a group of Uber and Lyft drivers are accusing the ride-hailing companies of price fixing as part of a new antitrust lawsuit. They claim if they were able to offer lower fares to passengers, they would be provided with the most competitive compensation. The suit says Uber and Lyft are hurting competition, with consumers paying more and drivers earning less. In a statement, Uber says the suit misconstrues both the facts and the law. Barack and Michelle Obama's media company signs an exclusive podcast deal with Amazon's Audible to make original content. Their company, Higher Ground, recently ended a 3-year run with Spotify. Financial terms haven't been disclosed, but the deal gives Audible the right to have the first look at new material before others get access. Higher Ground also has a television and movie deal with Netflix. Meta is launching an avatar store where you can buy designer clothes for your virtual self. CEO Mark Zuckerberg announcing customers will be able to browse high-end brands such as Balenciaga, Prada, and Thom Browne. Items will cost much less than they do in the real world, ranging from $2.99 to $8.99. The store will also offer hundreds of free outfits. Zuckerberg says the marketplace will allow creators to design and sell their own clothing, guys.
Right. At least it's not going to cost the same as like real product.
Yeah, exactly.
Like? Okay. All right. Good. Just clearing that up. All right. So, thank you so much.
You got it.
Now, if you're planning a trip to the beach this summer, listen up.
Yeah, it seems more sharks are moving closer to the coast. The reason they're approaching the land and why researchers say it won't cause a rise in shark attacks. Next.
We're back with a story out of Nebraska that's creating a lot of buzz after a couple there had some unwelcome visitors, actually thousands of them. The two say they'd recently planted some bee-friendly flowers outside their Omaha home, but they didn't expect bees to move in. They noticed something was up when they spotted a few bees outside their kitchen window, which seems normal enough, but then 30 of them or so were in a second-floor bedroom. But then they heard buzzing inside their wall. I think that's the video you're seeing there, and discovered bees were making themselves right at home in their home. They called in professionals who removed, get this, about 6,000 bees. Now, the couple says they chose to pay $600 to safely remove the bees instead of calling an exterminator. And they said that's because we need bees to pollinate the world. Just a very responsible thing to be concerned about when that's happening in your home.
Very, very calm and nice of them. Yeah, we've done 2 beehive stories in the last 2 days. The Beyonce beehive.
I like that one better.
And this one, yeah.
All right. Kind of beehive.
All right, so from bees to sharks, we've got new research this morning suggesting that those misunderstood sharks are spending more time these days closer to shore.
You're a shark sympathizer?
Sure.
Yeah, apparently they may also even be attracted to certain areas where they're more likely to find food along the way. NBC News senior national correspondent Carrie Sanders joins us from Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida, with more on this study. Hey, Carrie, good morning.
Well, good morning, guys. Look, we used to think, and certainly scientists thought, that sharks were like other big predators, say grizzly bears, wanted to stay as far away from humans as possible. But now they think that the new research suggests they may be a little bit more like raccoons or coyotes, where they adapt to the urban areas where they go. And so that means that sharks, well, those teeth, which can turn their water red, well, they can paint their world red when we're in there.
With beach season officially in full swing this morning, new findings on the ocean's most feared predators. Contrary to what shark experts first believed, researchers at the University of Miami Rosenstiel School have discovered sharks are surprisingly spending more time closer to populated coastlines. While researchers did not specifically track great whites like Bruce, they did follow some of his blood brothers, great hammerheads, bull sharks, and nurse sharks.
I was literally shocked to find out that not only were the 3 different species of sharks coming to these areas, but they're spending some considerable time there, some of them for months.
The unexpected findings come after years of shark tracking off the Miami coast. We were there with Dr. Neil Hammerschlag and his team in 2020 as they tagged the city-dwelling swimmers.
On days with the highest boat activity, which were holidays like July 4th or during weekends, the sharks' habitat use was pretty much the same as it was during weekdays or times where there was no boat activity.
So it's like an interstate, and the sharks are just fine with it.
It might be because they're just so used to it.
The study also identifying potential shark hotspots, areas where sharks were attracted by sewage runoff, discarded fish carcasses, and even fish parts from the nearby Miami Seaquarium. All easy food sources for sharks.
You think of humans in big cities snacking on fast food. It looks like the sharks are doing that too. We're seeing some of those nurse sharks actually get a bit fatter, wider.
Even bright lights above the surface are attracting the ferocious fish. Something Dr. Hammerschlag pointed out during our dive.
Actually on an airplane flying over Miami at night. Everything was lit up by city lights, and it made me think about how there's really nowhere where an animal could escape the urbanization.
Are those lights drawing sharks, scaring sharks away? Any impact?
I think that basically the lights might attract small little bait fish, which attract bigger fish, which attract sharks that are out hunting for those fish.
The research pointing to the impact even landlubbers have under the sea.
Whether it's through noise pollution, light pollution, chemical pollution, fishing, that's going to have an impact on the local shark population. So I think we got to think about being good neighbors.
So one of the questions you might say, well, does this research mean it's more dangerous to go swimming? No. Researchers say don't get confused here. It's just that they now know the sharks are closer to urban areas. They apparently have always been there. We just didn't know it, guys.
Right. That'll make us feel so much more comfortable knowing that.
Yeah, information is power, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you,
Thanks,
Carrie.
Carrie.
Appreciate it. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.